Okay, Tony, it's been a few weeks since we last spoke. The form's been a bit up and down. What's your own thoughts on how the season's going so far?
Yeah, patchy. I think most teams are. Probably, obviously, Wigan have probably been the best in recent times, but even if you look at some of the comments by their coach, I think all of us have been a bit patchy, largely down to weather and quality of training. I think has contributed not only to us but other teams as well. Hopefully, and even this week, we've been able to do a bit more quality work outside, and the weather's contributed to some of that. I'd like to think we're going to get better over the next little while with some consistency in the weather and quality of training. We would have liked to have certainly had form by now, but it's not been that way. But we're certainly taking some lessons and learning some lessons along the way about building that consistency and what's needed. And we've been close in some areas, but way off in a few areas too. And one of those areas that we probably showed right up in that first half on the weekend against Leeds was some of our goal line defence, and it's been a bit well below what we expect of ourselves. So we're certainly working on that very hard at the moment. And I think also our kicking game on the weekend wasn't great. When we'd had a couple of weeks of not bad kicking game, it just let us down to some degree. So a couple of areas there that we will hopefully rectify this week or over the next few weeks.
Has any defeat been more disappointing than another?
Oh no, it's not about defeats, it's about performing and not performing to your best. And as I pointed out on the weekend, it wasn't just that we were defeated by Leeds. Leeds were certainly deserved to win that game, but I don't think Leeds were great on the evening themselves. And but they were a little bit more workmanlike in that situation, and some of their kicking game was better than ours, and some of their goal line defence was better than ours. But overall, we made more breaks, we missed less tackles, and made more metres. And some of those sort of statistics that, whilst they go in your favour, you need to be better on the scoreboard sometimes, and a bit more resilient with your defence. And we're not living up to some of those sort of standards at the moment. So finishing second on the scoreboard, but second in terms of domination within games. And we want to get back to some of those games where we come off and feel proud of our goal line defence and the way that we're going about the game. So lessons to be learnt, and sometimes the harsh ones are the best ones.
Are you planning to make any changes for the trip to Wakefield?
There won't be many changes in terms of personnel, no. We're pretty much similar. I hope there's a possibility of Chris Bridge coming back into the fray for this week. He had a little hamstring issue. Whether he's quite right for this one, we'll give him a fitness test later in this week. Lee Breers whilst we've been given the green light to come back playing, he needs a little bit more work under his belt before he gets a start, and he'll probably be the week afterwards against Keighley in the cup game, where he'll be up to the levels that he needs to be in terms of work off the field. But so we're fairly similar in personnel for this week, which I think can be a good thing, and building some consistency in form without having too many changes. And we need to work on some things from last week, and the players that played from last week need to get out there and do some of that and rectify some of that.
What are your thoughts on the Challenge Cup draw? It's Keighley away, repeat of what happened last year. Repeat in terms of who we've drawn in same round. And it's funny, it happens that way sometimes. I think we had a similar situation for a couple of years running with maybe Swinton and maybe even Featherstone. We had some similar situations there, but it seems to work like that. That's the beauty of the cup. But the good thing is we know in terms of the ground size and dressing room size and some of those things that really test you out when you go to a championship team. And we'll do our homework on the team on the field. None of our players will have seen too many games of Keighley so far this year. So we'll do our homework after this Wakefield game and give them the awareness of players and do our homework as best we can on Keighley. But they're always tricky matches, those sort of matches, because it's the championship teams have got nothing to lose, and usually go out there and play accordingly, and get under the skin sometimes of the Super League team. So we're well aware of that, and we'll do our homework next week.
You've mentioned Lee Breers could be back for that one. How much has the team missed him?
Yeah, mixed amounts. He's a terrific player, and so is Adrian Morley, and the experience and that those sort of players and calibre of players bring to your team is always valuable, and they're highly regarded within our club. But having said that, it is what it is, and the players who I've been there have done a pretty good job, and various players and the experience that they gain. And I think it's been really good for Stefan to get a few games under his belt at standoff, and it'll be great for him and his development. He's been pretty consistent as one of our two leading players in terms of form. Simon Griggs has been right up there statistically. It's shown that he's been one of our most consistent players, along with Stefan, in recent weeks. So it's been good for Stefan, whilst there's still some areas that Stefan needs to work on, and it's given him a chance to establish himself in a position that he's played a fair bit of, but in different combinations. So it'll be useful for his future as well.
You mentioned Mozza there. Any news on when he might be back?
Yeah, about 3 weeks. We'd suggest. He's going well. He's ahead of schedule and training the house down in terms of his rehab, and he's out there running again now. He's not doing the full-on contact yet because of the nature of his injury, but he'll be back in a few weeks' time, and that'll be a real boost to us to have our skipper back, and somebody who's so inspirational in everything that he does on the field. And we have missed him, and Lee alike, but it's an opportunity for some others to work on their games and get some more game time and get some more experience. So there's benefits to be had by missing some of your more senior players, but you're always welcome. They're always welcome back as well.
And talking about experience there, you've sent Brad Dwyer out to Huddersfield this week. That's all about getting game time and experience, is it?
It sure is, yeah, it sure is. They're in a situation where they can give him that game time. Both our hookers are in good shape at the moment, and he's had limited opportunity, but I'll also say that Brad probably started the season quite slow this year, and he's only just finding some form now that makes him worthy of a start in Super League as well. And as I said, we've got 2 fit and healthy hookers at the moment, and his chance of jumping above them at the moment are quite limited. So it'll help Brad's development and certainly get him into the sort of form that, if called upon by us, that he'll be in much more experience and better shape than to handle that because of his experience at Huddersfield. They're happy to use him, pretty much straight away, and so it's certainly for the benefits of Brad, but also the benefit of us in the long term. And we've got to make sure that we keep developing some of our players so that they are ready once they're given the chance with us.
Last time we spoke, you said that after the Easter programme, the league table would start to take shape, and Warrington are 4th in the table at the moment. Would you say that's about where you deserve to be? Yeah,
certainly. I don't think you end up being on the league table anywhere but where you deserve to be. It's usually a fairly good indicator. If we're saying the same thing at the end of the year, we'll have to look at the reasons why, and whether that's been a consistent performance to get there or an inconsistent performance to get there. But there's such a long way to go that we'd like to think that we can build some momentum and we'll build some consistency over the next little while. And if we're able to do that, well, we may well
may well creep up that table, but if we don't, that's the reality of the table. It's usually a pretty good indicator of form and consistency. So over the next little while, I think it will sort some teams out, and we're in pretty good shape at the moment. We just need to work on a few areas and get back on up to the standards that we set ourselves.
Okay, Tony. As always, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Gary.